quickly as we can because we'd like to get this show on the road. So, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Bowie and I'm the moderator tonight. My little bit of background about me, I work for Amplify. I'm based here in Turangi as the business support. I've been in the role for a couple of years and I get a real buzz out of what Amplify does right through the region, but particularly here in Turangi. And I'm ably supported by my timekeeper, Mel Albert. She recently joined Amplify as the Events and Activation Coordinator, and she is a star. She is fantastic. So, now, just to let those people who don't know, this has been broadcast live on the World Wide Web through the TDC website. So, I do ask everybody just to respect points of view, and I don't really want this event to be turned into something that might be an overnight sensation on the internet for the wrong reasons. So please, we don't all agree from time to time, but please keep them to yourselves. The other thing I do like to say is that the energy level leading up to these elections has certainly increased, and it's great to see, I saw on stuff today that the volcanic alert level for the lake has gone up from 0 to 1, and I'm sure that's due to you guys, so well done. Before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. If you've got a phone, and I think everyone's got a phone in their pocket, could you please make sure it's either on silent or switched off, just for the benefit of everybody here, but also, more importantly, for the candidates. The second thing, bathrooms, if you need them, are back through the foyer, just as you came in on the left-hand side. And from an emergency perspective, should we need to vacate, you can see the emergency signs dotted around the place, and if we have to vacate, please meet in the car park adjacent to the hall. So that is the housekeeping. I'd like to now introduce the candidates, and they have helped me out by just randomly sitting anywhere, which makes life very, very easy for me. But contesting the Taupo District Mayoralty, there are 3 candidates. David? Morning. Christine and Sean. There are also 2, but soon to be 3 candidates here representing, now please excuse me if I say this incorrectly, the Papamārearea Maori Ward. We have Dave Davies and Danny Lachlan. And we also have Karen Fletcher, who will be here around about 6 o'clock. And there is also 4 candidates representing the 1 Turangi Ward seat: Clint Green, Sandra Greenslade, Paula McRae, and we also have Danny Patana. Sorry, Danny, George, mate. Sorry, George. Sorry. Okay, now just a little bit of the idea of the format. It's going to be in 3 sections. The first round will be a 2-minute presentation by each candidate. The first will be the Mayoral candidates, and then I'm going to ask the 2 from the Maori Ward candidate, and then 3 the candidates for the Turangi Ward. As I say, they'll have 2 minutes to speak. After 90 seconds, Mel's going to ring a bell, and after 2 minutes, technology steps in and the microwaves get turned off. The microwaves, I said that before. The microphones get turned off. The second round will be answering formal questions that have been presented already to me, and they will be for 90 seconds, and again after 60 seconds there will be a bell, and then not the microwave, the microphone will be switched off after 90 seconds. After that, should we have time, the whole idea that it's 2 hours and we would like to have an opportunity at the end of the day to have a meet and greet on a one-on-one basis, but hopefully we'll have time to take questions from the floor. If that's the case, we do ask anyone who wants to ask a question of a specific candidate or to any of the candidates, please come forward, use the microphone that's there. when you stand up there, please say who you are, and if you want your question to a specific member of the candidates, please identify who they are. So, that's my lot. I was going to move the lectern, but I have been overruled by the candidates, so it's going to stay here. So I am now going to start the process, and again, I have, because I am in total control here, so I have chosen who's going to speak first, and the first speaker as a mayoral candidate is you, David.
Kia ora, kia ora. Thank you very much, Michael, and I must say the asparagus rolls are absolutely beautiful. Good evening, everyone. It's been an honour and an absolute privilege to have been your mayor for the last 9 years. My vision is still to be this district to be the most prosperous and livable district in New Zealand, and it's lovely to be in Turangi tonight. A place where I've holidayed since I was about 5 years old, initially staying in the old green canvas tent and then graduating to a caravan a few years later. And then we hired a TV from Lockyer's Appliances. I couldn't believe it, we'd made it. Well, we turned up a couple of years ago here in this hall and I got a rack up. And I totally believe I went away and thought we actually totally deserved that. Well, we went away and got into action. Curb and channeling, trees removed, sports changing room, Turangi took our park, proposed event centre. She is all go here. I actually spent the day here on Saturday and loved it. Went to the women's rugby, popped in to see Rossi Baker down at the lodge. He even had a smile on his face that he locked up another inmate, as he said. He was in a good mood. Then to the Turangi Tavern for a meet and greet and catch up with Lauren and Mike from Damble Industries. If anyone knows about Damble Industries, you know, about their manufacturing plant, what a wonderful contribution to Turangi, employing all the locals, which is fantastic. Especially like to acknowledge my former colleague John Mack, and I'm not too sure Tom's here. I'm going to miss him terribly, John. I've made a commitment to those guys for the event centre to go ahead, and I will do everything I can to see that through. I know we can do it because we've got a AA plus credit rating, and remember now Turangi is now part of our $65 million investment fund. You guys own that now, which is great. We've still got work to do. Law and order, must work closely with police, burglaries, unsavoury activity, all that sort of thing. Graham and Kathy Wyman doing a fantastic job in the CBD, doing the Safeets up. We've got to get in and help them. They just can't do it on their own. Work with all the agencies, get our young ones working, forests, lake, environmental, you name it, we've got it here. These are incredibly exciting times, especially now. So, if you want clear, concise, inclusive leadership with no dramas, I promise to be for the mayor for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it's a bit long.
Thank you, David.
Thank you so much.
The second one I would like to invite now is Sean Wakeman, please.
Kia ora. It's always nice to be in Turangi, having lived here myself. And rather than, I'll start off and tell a bit about myself for those who don't know me, but to ask you a couple of questions. Who went to school here? A bit old, a few ones there. Tongariro High School, same one as me over there. Shane Isherwood, that would have been a wee while ago. But look, we went to school here. My mother and father, I've actually got my father here, Dave Wakeman, with me tonight, who was in Department of Conservation for a long time in this area. And my mother taught very proudly at Tongariro High School. And so it's an area that we called home for quite a long time, Poihari Street, and then before building in Uramu Street. So it's an area I'm passionate about. I spent some of my formative years, made some of my best life decisions here, and probably some of my most dubious ones, normally involving having a drink and jumping off Bully Rock instead of being at school on a Friday. I think that still happens. So for my vision for the area is to maintain what we have here. And what we have is a town which is not trying to punch up to be a Taupo. It's not for the glitz and glam. You get the true Kiwis coming for the holidays here. I always found that this, for me, was the ski centre, getting up to the mountain with the easy access, going to the Takanu, to the hot pools, but it needs to be promoted. And I'm not sure why that hasn't happened. It is funny when you come back to places that you lived, and let's face it, 15 years old for me was a couple of years ago now, 35 odd years, and you come back and you look and you see a lot of things have changed, but you also pick up on things that haven't changed. And I think because in any community, the people that implement that change on behalf of the residents and the ratepayers is the council. So somewhere there, I'm not sure about the rack-up that Dave had. I've had a few rack-ups here before. I think, actually, my ex-principal over there, I've probably had a couple from him over the days, and well-deserved. But the council has to step forward and act as if it's a local. And I've been a local. As I said, I left simply because I think it was either me or Dad, one of us had to go. But at about the age of 18 or 19, I headed out, but I came back many times. So for me, my vision for the Turangi area is to grow and to get the support that you deserve if you had one of your own standing. And I think at the moment I'm as close to that as we can get. Thank you very much.
And third, Christine Rankin.
Kia ora tātou and good evening everyone. I'm Christine Rankin and I've been in this district for nearly 8 years now, but I'm a South Islander originally, born in Greymouth, daughter of a coal miner, lived in a little town called Blackball, who I'm sure you've certainly heard of the Blackball Hilton. I had a really tough childhood, but that has given me character and resilience and most importantly to me, courage. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But I have to say I love this district and that's one of the reasons that I'm standing. As you know, I've been the Deputy Mayor for the past 3 years and on council here for 6, and I'm also a business coach. But I volunteered to look after Turangi and I have been here probably far more than you know. For some reason I've got a really soft spot for Turangi and I wanted to be part of the development that's happened over the 3 years, and I have supported your councillors every step of the way, and they will confirm that for you, and I've loved being part of it because you have massive potential. But leadership is my skill and my passion, and I want to use that experience and skill for the future of the district. I've been a leader since my mid-20s and I've been a chief executive for several organisations. I've owned a company that taught leadership and management, and I'm a graduate of Stanford University's Leading and Managing Change course. I also have a great deal of governance experience, and this includes chairing the Sir Peter Blake Marine Educational Facility, where the board and I took that organisation from the edge of bankruptcy to a thriving organisation, but you can never do it alone. Leaders build teams and they build strong individuals. The stronger the individual, the stronger the team. And you can't just expect a team to happen. You have to put the effort into it and the love and the care and the nurturing, and you do exactly the same thing with your community. It's not about telling people what to do. But as a mayor, I believe building that team is an absolutely vital thing to do. And I believe that this area needs real leadership, and that's one of the things that I strongly offer you. I do know how to lead and manage and get the very best results. I know how to include all interest groups, including business and the community, in a very dynamic way. I'm highly energised, I'm very driven, and our success is my passion. Building that success and growing it has been a hallmark of my whole career. I never give in and I never give up, and I will certainly never give up on Turangi. It has so much to offer, and as the things that we've approved in the last 3 years, we've spent $39 million in Turangi in the last 3 years, and you deserve it. You did give us a big shake-up. You deserve it. We listened, and you're going to get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
Now, as I mentioned, we do have Karen Fletcher joining us, but in the meantime, we'll start with the two that are here from the Maori Ward seat. First up, Dave Davies.
We can't hear you nodding your head, but you can tap your bottle.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, got a pen? Got a pen?
I had it in my phone rang, so I tuned it down.
Anything. Okay. Kia ora. So, Dave Davies. I live in Taupo. I am from down here. My great-grandmother raised me, and she's a Chase. And her grandmother's from Pukawa. Okay? Ngahu i Ripeka, aho Mayoralty. And then on my mother's side, That's on the father's side. On the mother's side, I'm from Oronui, Turangi Ita. I'm sorry, I'm from... On my mother's side, I'm from Oronui, on the far side of the lake. Okay, so I'm standing for the Maori Ward to serve the people, to serve our people. As a child, we'd come down here and visit family all the time, like a lot of us did. We came here to visit family. My aim now to work as a Maori Ward councillor is to serve the people at this end of the lake as much as I do at the other end of the lake, because we still have a lot of development to go on down here. Excuse me, I've got it blocked here. But that's enough of that. My mission in life has been, for the last 15 years, to work in construction. I've been project manager several times, and there are occasions when difficult things turn up and I've got to solve them. But what I am aware of, that there are issues down here. I was at a meeting the other day, and in Maryland, excuse me, I'm talking about Maryland. There are issues with developments that happened out at Pukawa, developments that happened out at Whangaroa. There are issues that have not been managed well at the other side of the lake by council. So it's a matter of trying to figure out a solution. My aim is to serve the people, and that's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to call on Danny Lockman.
Kia ora tātou, ko Danny Lockman taku ingoa. So I've had to reduce my speech from 3 minutes down to 2. Firstly, I want to acknowledge our Amplify whānau here. I used to be involved with Enterprise Lake Taupo and Enterprise Great Lake Taupo before they changed their name again to Amplify. I also want to acknowledge the passing of Les Owen's mother, Moi Maira. So a little about me. I live behind the Kosi Club in Taupo. Went to Taupo Primary, Taupo Intermediate, Taupo Near-Tier College. Went to University of Waikato and became a chartered accountant. I worked here in Turangi from 1997 to 2002 as the trust accountant for the Lake Taupo and Lake Rotoaira Forest Trust. So I literally started in the building next door the week before it opened. I've been the general manager for Ngāti Tūwharetoa Fisheries since 2013, so it's the deep water fish, not the trout. I've been a trustee on the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board for 16 years, which is the custodian for Lake Taupo, its tributaries in the Waikato River to Hooker Falls, and they have a little bit to do with the trout. I am Ngāti Tūwharetoa's representative on the Waikato River Authority. I was a director on Tūwharetoa Health and then the Lake Taupo PHO. So Lake Taupo PHO brought low-cost doctor fees to the district, and I'm proud of the work we did with funding towards Pihanga Health and keeping 50% of its ownership here in Turangi. I did 6 years on Lakes District Health Board, where we improved the hospitals in Rotorua and in Taupo. Been fortunate enough to have a small involvement with some of the projects around here in Turangi, including the heli biking with Kaimanawa Rangers and recently removing asbestos from Te Kanu's hot pools. They are open. People keep asking me that, are they open? Yes, they are open. Kia ora. Big support of Mana Whakahono Partnership Agreement between Taupo District Council and Ngāti Turangi Tukua. And I'm a member of the Institute of Directors and one of the few candidates on the stage with a finance background. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
I'd now like to move to the contestants for the Turangi Ward, and first I'd like to invite Sandra Greenslade to come forward.
Are you being that loud? I will. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I know of no single formula for success, but over the years I have observed that some attributes of leadership are universal and are often about finding ways of encouraging people to combine their efforts, their talents, their insights, their enthusiasm and their inspiration to work together. Those are the words of your late Queen. These words say everything that we need to say about our journey here in Turangi. Combining our efforts, our talents, our insights, our enthusiasm and working together is what the mana whakahono co-governance is going to be all about. I fought the Lines Company, and now we have bills that look like the rest of New Zealand. As a result of that, I have 1,000 people on my Power page, Facebook page. I'm on the Government Energy Hardship Reference Group. 20 people selected by government to bring innovative ideas to that table. I'm on Maori Trust. We provide insulation and heat pumps across the district, and we have insulated over 800 homes already. I clashed very publicly with the King Country Electric Power Trust some years ago, but now I'm a trustee on there. We gave $500,000 to St John's Ambulance. We gave Pihanga Health a new car, the first that they'd ever had, and we distributed 40,000 LED light bulbs. I'm telling you all this because I want to demonstrate to you how I started out battling organisations who I now work with to change our community. I'm standing for council because you know that I will bring innovative thinking to the council table. I'm not prepared to accept mediocrity. That's why you should vote for me, because you know that I will work for positive change.
Thank you, Sandra. I'd now like to invite Paula McRae to come forward, please.
I'm just a bit nervous at the moment. My name is Paula McRae. My family moved here in 1968. I went to high school here, and I moved to Auckland in 1974 and moved back here in 2008. I'm not, as I said, I'm not actually from here. I'm from Whangamata, and my principal place of residence and representation is Turangi in the Tongariro area. I'm standing for council to ensure our long-awaited projects continue to fruition, supporting health and wellness in Turangi, ensuring we receive the resources needed, and I've been on that bandwagon. 12 months ago I had open heart surgery and recuperated for 4 months in Raglan, and I'm back working in that, doing what I did before. Okay. Thanks, Sandra, to St John's Ambulance, because if it hadn't been for the paramedics, I probably wouldn't be here. Okay. Now, why would you actually vote for me? Because being a councillor is a juggling act. Some projects probably will not succeed. And obviously there are some issues out of our control. As a councillor, we want to ensure that we get our eco-acclimatisation and refuse all under control and get our community involved by doing our bit for Turangi. I've held governance positions in that at Auckland School Trustees Association, Manukau Tech, Board of Trustees, and our local hapu in Whangamata. I have a keen interest in rugby. My eldest plays, not so much now, for counties, and also my moko plays. Is it? Is it? Oh. Gosh, that didn't take long.
Thank you, Paula. Now I would like to, and I'll get your name right this time, George Patina.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi o te ahi pō. Greetings, good evening. Before I get into it, I just want everyone to be aware of who I am. I am the mukupono or grandchild of who many of you would know as Duff and Mary Pātena from down Tokanu. So if you don't know my surname Pātena, you might not have been in Turangi long enough to understand who and what we are as a whānau. So here we go. Why am I standing and why I'm running in this really great race at the moment? As a current member of the Turangi-Tongariro Community Board and a previous long-term local government employee of Christchurch City Council, I've acquired an in-depth understanding of how council works and a strong base and understanding of governance and the relationship building experience required. More importantly though, I have proven my ability to support residents and community groups across our ward being Turangi and Tongariro. I am a strong believer in working together to achieve better community outcomes and have seen so many community successes through fostering a collaborative approach. Maintaining my status as a not aligned independent representative whilst working constructively with people on both sides of the political spectrum is also one of my core values. I have shown the community board setting that I am not a pushover. This experience has been further reinforced by my chairing of and being a member of many boards ranging from community organisations through to many community causes. The council needs to be bold and exciting and have a vision for our district, but it also needs to be commercially responsible, ensuring our ratepayers' money is being spent prudently, and in this tough economic climate, wastage and inefficiency is not tolerated in our households, our businesses, and it should not be for council as well. As the Turangi-Tongariro Ward councillor, I will be relentless in ensuring your money is spent wisely. We need to make sure that our basics are right, including our footpaths, roads, green spaces, and increasing our biodiversity, reflecting a healthy, ecologically richer environment. We must be better than basic. I'm independent and not politically aligned, as I said. I will listen to Turangi Tongariro community and make decisions and advocate on your behalf, based on your merit and common sense. If you need any reason to vote for anyone on this panel this evening, I'm standing before you. My name is Giorgio Konapātina, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa.
And finally, I'd like to invite Clint Green to come up.
Kia ora tātou. Many of you here already know who I am, and that's a help to me. It means I don't have to explain too much who I am. But for those who don't, I've been a resident of Turangi since 1985 and have background in education, being a primary school teacher, more latterly a teacher of deaf and hearing impaired right through the district. Also business, having run backpacker hostel and transport business and tourism, and currently still run my own small business in town. So there's a good background there that to draw on to bring to the council should I be elected. I currently come from a position of being the board chair. Initially I wasn't the chair of the board, but became chair due to the current chair resigning. So I've enjoyed that position, and I feel I've been able to work closely with the current councillors in taking Turangi to where it is now. And I'd really appreciate your vote to enable me to take that further into the next 3 years. I don't go to the council with lots of preconceived other ideas, except to listen to the people, listen to the community, take your ideas and keep Turangi at the forefront every time I sit round that table with the group of councillors, whoever they may be, and the mayor, so that what the current councillors have achieved can be continued. We are a diverse community, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. I love Turangi because we are such a diverse community, and that's what I want to take to the council table as well. We do have a great future. I would like to see Turangi promoted as Turangi, not Taupo, and that's it. Time's up. So, thank you.
Thank you, Clint, very much. Excuse me, guys, does this work? Yep. Okay, now what we want to do is I'm going to ask the candidates to respond to questions that have been presented via email. The first 3 questions are for the mayoral candidates, and the first question is going to be answered, the same question will be answered by all 3 candidates in the order of Christine first, then Sean, and then David. And the question is this. Well, first of all, there's a comment. And the comment is this. Consultation was held by Council prior to developing the long-term plan 2021 to 2031. One of the topics was district-wide funding of water. Page 44 of the Taupo District's Long-Term Plan 2131, under the heading District-Wide Funding of Water states. In the past, each of the district's 18 water schemes have been separately funded. This meant that only the ratepayers connected to each scheme contributed costs. Some of these communities were facing affordability issues. Council decided to move to district-wide funding of water to improve affordability for residential consumers. This means that all ratepayers connected to a council water scheme will pay whakakatahi. So my question to you, the mayors, first of all Christine, please explain how the current district-wide funding of water is better or worse for ratepayers than adopting the government's Three Waters proposal.
Well, Three Waters, to me, is the confiscation of our infrastructure. You bought it, you paid for it, you worked for it, and they're going to take it away. And I thought we learned about confiscation a long, long time ago. They're going to create a 9,000-person bureaucracy with layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of decision-making. So we have no or very little control over our water and how it's utilised and when it's required and when we need to develop new schemes. There's going to be none of that. The sharing of it, the decision we made to share it, made it much easier for smaller parts of the district to be able to have the kind of water supply that they need. And we thought that was the fairest thing to do rather than, say, dumping it on you. If it's you who needs it, only you pay for it. It seemed very unfair. That is dramatically better than us having no control whatsoever over our water, and that's what Three Waters offers us. If you're not concerned about Three Waters, I think that you should be. It's going to affect farming dramatically in this area. I experienced it in Auckland, and believe you me, there is no control over what will happen to your water. It's like waka kotahi. Now they can decide any old time they like when we get a new road or when a road gets fixed. It's going to be exactly the same thing with Three Waters. So we've actually been very good in supplying great water. We've kept up with the play, and we do not need Three Waters. Thank you.
Wow, that's a curly one. I'm going to do something quite uncharacteristic, and I'm going to keep it very, very short here. It's not a topic that I'm well versed on, and therefore what I don't want to do is be someone who stands up and just waffles on, which my dad's laughing because I do waffle on a bit. It'd be very easy to make balance. I am not in favour of the Three Waters. I don't want to have the waterways taken away from us. Not only does everyone need and use them, we've also got the shining jewel here, the jewel in the crown. We've got the lake right on our doorstep. We're the largest supplier there. So for us, it's not only a utility that we use in our day-to-day, it's what attracts our tourism. So as far as which is the better option, from that question, I did have trouble understanding it. But once again, this is the kind of answer that if you asked me at any stage, I'd expect to turn around and give you back a one-page essay on it after I've had a couple hours to research it. Because I can't be an expert across all fields, but what I can do is find out who those people are and get back to you. So I'm afraid I'm probably going to give you a bit of an elusive answer, and I think I just did. Cheers.
Yeah, we got huge support in the submissions for the one district, one rate for water. I thought it was a fantastic idea at the time. It means the bigger areas sort of propped up the smaller areas. So it's going to be, as Christine said, it's just going to be taken away from us. We've paid for these assets. We've not deferred one bit of asset renewal in my time in 9 years. We've kept up our maintenance. We've kept up doing everything. And now it's going to be taken over by some huge organisation with about, how many layers? 9 layers. And we pushed back out. I've submitted to Parliament last week, pushing back against it. Got a single party government. It's pretty blimmin' hard to change it. So, I think some smaller areas need some help. I understand that. Waitomas, the Tikoitis, the Dannyverks of the world, they need help. I understand that. But we've done everything we should You guys have paid for it over the years, and now it's going to be taken away from us. But the only thing is, we are right in the middle of Entity B, so we might end up with quite a conglomerate here in the Taupo district. So we'll take that if we've given it. But I don't think we've got any choice, guys. I'm really, really sorry, but myself and my deputy are pushing back real hard. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I just would like to formally welcome Karen. You will have your moment in the sun very shortly, my friend. So, oops, that's a bit loud. So the second question again for the mayoral candidates, and it's going to be answered in Sean first, David second, and Christine third. First of all, a comment and then the question. The comment. Next month sees the changing of the guard in our community. The elected TTCB, or Turangi-Tongariro Community Board, will be replaced by the appointed board of Mana Whakahono, representing the interests of TTC and Ngāti Turangatukua. While the TTCB was accountable to the electorate, this is not the case with Mana Whakahono. So the question, as mayor, and therefore as a board member of Mana Whakahono, what tangible outcomes would you expect to see from this agreement over the next 3 years? Sean, you're first.
You're a lot better at asking questions down here in Taupo. We had simple ones, not quite favourite colours, but something along those lines. Once again, the hardest thing I'm finding with this campaign and running to be your mayor is a lot of the answers that are being asked for are ones that come from a period of time from being within the system. And not having worked in the system and been privy to all of the agreements that have been made, it is hard for me to give you an answer that comes across as if I know what I'm saying. And that's obvious because I haven't been the mayor for the last 3 years, so how would I know what that role fully entitles? I believe that the decisions be made. We have co-governance in place now. Obviously, we need to have reporting back on that. Any organisation would expect to have reporting from the people at the head, and that would be something that I'd wish to continue on with. And the consultation on that, I think, goes down to as to what kind of reports do you need rather than what kind of reports are you given. How do you know if these measurements are meeting up to things that are important to the community here? You need to put them forward. And then they need to be made as part of a regular routine of reporting so you can judge the progress or lack of progress, and you can decide and make decisions from there on in. Thank you.
As I said earlier in my speech, incredibly exciting. We've been making decisions here as a council on other people's land, on privately owned land. It's not on. You know, this agreement goes back to 1990. So it's incredibly exciting going forward. We're going to just take this place forward. Now we're working in partnership, co-governance with the owners of the actual land. And I acknowledge you people here tonight. It's exciting. We're going to rock and roll this place and get some assets here, get that event centre up and going, you know, and work in partnership. And why not? It just makes sense. So thank you so much to Tēnā, all the people that initiated, you know, the thing. So I've never been, seriously, I know it sounds a bit, but I've never been more excited for this place because now we are working in partnership with the people that actually own the land, and I understand the grief in the 50s and 60s, and I get it now. You know, as a little kid coming to look at the information centre and think, wow, what a massive engineering feat. I didn't even know the radu that went on behind. So, you know, so I really, really am excited for the future. Thank you very much.
The Mana Whakahono committee will be responsible to the community. Of course they're accountable. It's exactly the same situation as you had set up with the local board, and there'll also be a local board created to meet the needs of the land that's being shared and managed together for the land outside the area, and I'm not sure that people have been really clear about that. But Mana Whakahono is a very appropriate thing for us to have done. Turangi Tukua own most of the land in this town that is not privately owned, and it is right that we negotiate with them and that we're part of that and part of the decision making to get things moving in this town. They have every right to say, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that, but we're going to be working with them to ensure that we get the right outcomes. Look, I don't believe this is going to be easy. I think this is a huge challenge for us ahead, and it's got to be led and managed really well, and we've got to be gentle and kind to each other, because this isn't going to work just like that. It's going to require a great deal of work, and if this doesn't work, it'll be a disaster for other developments like this. So it's very important that we make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Now, the third question to the mayoral candidates, again, will be answered in the order of David, then Christine, then Sean. First and foremost, a comment and then the question. The comment is this: 5 years ago this month, the Turangi Economic Strategy document, which is otherwise known as the TEDS document, was presented to and accepted by the TDC Council members. The TEDS document highlighted a number of opportunities for growth in the region, but also challenges to Turangi's competitiveness, namely an aged town centre, power pricing, below average workforce skills and lack of broadband. We now have fibre. The new recreational activity centre will provide an opportunity to relook at the Turangi Mall infrastructure. Power pricing continues to be an unresolved local issue. Making our young people work ready is to be a major impediment for business growth in Turangi. So my question to the Mayor: as Mayor, what youth initiatives would you like to implement over the next 3 years to assist in the training and retaining of our Turangi rangatahi?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, actually, the installation of yourself and Amplify, and Joe, the chair of Amplify here, I think we're on the right track. I seriously do, with industries like the kennel manufacturing, all that sort of thing, going to MSD, getting collaborating, getting some programs, getting some work programs, get these kids working, get them educated, get them out and about. You know, they just don't understand how beautiful this environment here is. So we will keep initiating that with Pathways. We've got an organisation, Pathways, and the various agencies. We must utilise, must flog this government to get as much out of them as we can to get these kids off the couch and get them working. You know, forestry, huge, 25% of our GDP, forestry. Geothermal, Taupo, running buses up to Taupo to the geothermal. Contact Energy spending $2.5 billion in our district. You know, it's we've just got to tap into it. So just keep your agency alive, keep funding those various agencies that help contribute, and we'll be okay, I'm sure. Because if you explain to these kids how much more enjoyment it is working, it's unbelievable. They get out with their mates, they go out Friday night, they can come chasing whatever, you know, but if they're working, they're enjoying life and making full advantage of our beautiful environment. Thank you very much.
Look, I had over 20 years in the public service and in the work and income, Department of Social Welfare, work and income, whatever you like. The issues are not just finding jobs for people somewhere. There are deep and major issues that we need to deal with. So yes, we're working at getting more and more and more opportunities for our young people. We're working at getting them connected with the programs that are on offer. In Taupo is just one example. It's quite hard for them to travel to other places, but it's not that straightforward. It is not about finding a person, finding a job and attaching them to it. You know as well as I do that there's a lot more support that needs to be done, and quite frankly the government has been remiss in the investment in Turangi. It's one of the things I've talked to my colleagues about before, which I'm sure John will be able to confirm. But we need support in a lot of other ways too. So, yep, the jobs are great, the training's great. They need some other things too to help them to get the habits right and to support some of the issues that they're facing. It is not a piece of cake. Thank you.
Okay, we had a very similar question in Taupo the other night, and I think that the inherently incorrect part of the question is what are we going to do to help for the training programs for children once they graduate or they leave school. My concern is something that I grew up with here, and I know that my wife works at the intermediate school, and we see it over there as it's growing absenteeism. So rather than looking after the kids that have got the support and get out the other end, why do we have children not going to school? Are they hungry? Are they having meals? I know families that can't put a meal on the table, or they have to choose which one. So which morning is it that some of these children wake up and it's one meal that breaks the camel's back, that puts them out with the boys that day, decide to go and get up to some mischief or not attend the school? So let's just take a step back from this and start healing. Also, a couple of years now, children have been going through a lot of the depression that us adults have tried to hide from them during COVID, uncertainty. Mum and Dad are supposed to have the answer to everything, but we haven't for the last couple of years. So there's a lot of damage that's been done there. I think we just need to start mopping that up first before we look at that next step. And as far as holding on to children when they do leave high school, I remember that one of the biggest reasons I left home was it was a mutually beneficial agreement for me and my parents. I wanted to get out and go and explore the world. So to hold me back with something, would that have worked? Would it have done? Or do we make it once again a township where they'd be proud to come back, take their families for holidays, or even move back to, and attract that whole new generation, the people who haven't grown up with what we've got here? But once again, let's look after the youngest and most vulnerable. When we're getting our ducks in a line, let's start with the small ones before we look at the big mallards. Thank you.
Thank you to the mayoral candidates. You can have some light relief now. Before we move on to the questions for the ward councillor candidates, I would like to introduce Karen Fletcher. And Karen, would you like to step forward and you can do your 2-minute presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Fletcher.
Me huri nei ngā mihi ki tō tātou mārai kura a pihanga maunga. Ai hua, ai hau, ai maranga e tūtonu ia, hei manake ake ki nei a tātou ngauri whakatupu o ngā turangi tukua, no rere mihi nei, mihi nei. E noho tonu ki te mātaumu o whakaro ko rātou ko ngaru te tiro ngā kanu I rātou ko wheturangi tia. Nā tautoru e hunai ngā kukua te mati ki te rua koi, ki te rua tupua. Kia tupu kia rea ko ngā kākono whetu e piata nei te tuakiri o te rangipō. No reira, ko katu ko te repo tātai whetu ki runga, mautonu, ko te repo tātai tangata ki raro rā e kia koutou whakarau ika mai raro I te tūnu o tēnei whare o tātou mihi ana. Ko Karen Fletcher tōku ingoa. I apologise for my tardiness. I was actually at a strategic meeting with the trustees for the Turangi Rangatahi Hub, and as a part of my campaign slogan, I've been talking a lot about our rangatahi and our mokopuna. It'd be remiss of me to skip out an important hui to come and campaign for them here today. So I had to prioritise that specific hui over this one, unfortunately, but it's fantastic to be here, and I thank Mike for providing me the opportunity to stand to speak. I think a lot of what I've always wanted to say with regards to why I'm standing, I've already said already, and you're more than welcome to watch some of the videos that have been circulating across social media. So I'll use this time to actually acknowledge firstly the mayoral candidates. Thank you all for coming to our beautiful rohe of Turangi Tukua. Me te mihi anō hoki kia koutou te Papamārearea, Danny and tēnā koe Dave, Koruatahi, and I acknowledge also Whai Arahapo who's not here today. And it's also great to see the Turangi candidates as well that will be going on to potentially represent the community. And as a staunch community man myself, I'm excited at the prospect of seeing more representation of Turangi whānau within council. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge, I see Mac here today, Tonganui, who have done an exceptional job in the continued support of our community, and long may that continue in the future. Engari kei konei au, and I've said it all before and I'll say it again, it's all about intergenerational change. If your aspirations lie with you and you alone, then a vote for me is probably wasted. Unless we're thinking about future-proofing our district, then kura taku tino wawata. Those are, without a doubt, my aspirations. As a councillor standing, as a candidate, standing for Te Papamārearea, the Maori Ward for the Taupo District Council. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Karen. Now, we have some questions for the ward councillors. And first and foremost, I'm going to invite the candidates for the Turangi Ward to answer in turn the question I'm about to give them, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the 3 candidates for the Maori Ward, and then there are some general questions for all the candidates. So for the Turangi Ward, and they're going to be answered on the basis of first will be Clint, second will be George, then Paula, and then Sandra. The question is this. This is a watershed election. There will be no TTCB support. You will be the only Turangi Ward councillor. In this environment, what skills and attributes do you believe you'll need to be an effective Turangi Ward councillor? Clint.
Thank you, Mike. That's a good question. I believe I've got the skills necessary to take on that role. I've already got good established relationships with some of the key people, and I'd hope to develop those further to be able to work for the betterment of the community with both Turangi Tukua and the elected members of council. I'm very excited, like the mayoral candidates have said, to move forward with mana whakahono arohe. I think it's a wonderful move. I was very strongly for that right from the start and continue to be so, as well as the establishment of the Maori wards. My skills are communication, but more importantly, listening and empathy. That's my strength. And I think that will take, if I'm elected, that'll take us a long way into the future. Kia ora.
Kia ora no koutou. So number one, I would not be the only councillor sitting on that board, because there would be two from Te Papamārearea sitting at my side, so I don't know how that would work. So from that perspective, immediately, the first thing that I need is a opportunity to connect. And that connection would happen through whakapapa, because I'm related to those candidates who are sitting there before you. That's the first connect. So that's what I bring to the table, a whakapapa that connects with those who are sitting at the table with me. You do not sit at that table alone. There are 12 other individuals sitting there with you. So number one, what would I bring? I bring communication. Communication is the key thing that I've heard as being the major breakdown throughout the community and for council. Working collaboratively with my colleagues from Te Papamārearea and communicating to the wider community the aspirations that you have identified and working on those aspirations is number one. I am here to lead. A huge part of leading is advocacy. If I'm unable to advocate on your behalf, then you should not be looking at me as a candidate this evening. A huge motivation for me to be standing, and the reason why I'm bringing myself to this evening is because I'm exceptional at communicating and I'm exceptional at negotiating. Ultimately, at the end of the day, these are the things I bring. An excellent, compelled communicator. Someone with integrity. And again, I reiterate those words I used earlier. I am relentless. Relentless is being like a dog with a bone, not letting go of it until you've found the outcome that you're seeking. So if you're seeking for someone to lead, to advocate, and to demand the things that you seek as a wider community, you're looking at the man in front of you. Ngā mihi nunui ki a koutou.
Thank you, George.
I think there's quite a few locals here that know me. I'm a bit of, I network anyway, and I'm a bit of a chatterbox. And, and of course, I know a lot of the locals and that I love to network, and I'm a good listener, and communications. Those are, I think, are my strengths. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I reject the premise that I'm on my own. There's no way I'm on my own. There's no way I'm going to be on my own. I've got a whole group of people behind me, and there are no sides here. We're actually all in the same boat, and we all want the same thing. And the mana whakahono has been developed over many years with the people at the table up there, and it's been brought to this community, and we know what it means, and we know what it's about, and we know where we want to go. Tina Perot said, when it first came out, it's a great start and we've got a way to go, and we know that. I have spent most of my career as a school teacher. I've worked in international schools across the world. I was on the European Council of International Schools, accrediting schools. I go into any organisation that I go into with the aim of working with those people that are in front of me. And that's what I'm going to do for Turangi.
Thank you, Sandra. Now, the question is a similar question to the three candidates here for the Maori Ward, and I'd like them to respond. Karen first, Danny second, and then Dave to follow. The question is this. This is also a watershed election for the Maori Ward, for the first time having representation at the council table. What tangible goals will you be seeking to achieve in your role as councillor over the next 3 years? Karen, I invite you up first.
That's a really good question, especially the word tangible. I mean, when you put your name forward to be a candidate within council, it's really easy to come into these spaces with all of these bright ideas and with all of these hopes and aspirations and dreams of what this community has the potential to look like. But in terms of tangible progress, that's another story. So it's really hard for me to explain what tangibly we can achieve over this small time that we have in council. So what I can say, though, from an aspirational standpoint, is future-proofing our district. I think that we are barely scratching the surface of what this world is going to look like. I was born in '84, so I was brought up through the technological age, and I talk a lot about how much the cell phone has changed the way we communicate, the way we operate in our day-to-day lives. What do you think the next 10 years is going to look like? That happened over the span of such a short period of time. So in terms of the technological age we're moving into, it's growing exponentially. In fact, faster than we can keep up with sometimes. So we need to better understand spaces like Web3. We need to better understand what AI looks like, what VR looks like, what augmented reality looks like, and how that will incorporate into the future of what our kids are going to be growing up in. As much as you like to say, look, no, stay off that TV, get off the computer, the truth of the matter is this is going to become their life. So what are we doing as a district to future-proof that? Kora te pātui, kia ora.
Kia ora tātou. Yes, it's going to be interesting being on council. So the first thing, you're going to have Turangi Tuko coming to us saying, what are you going to be doing about your water infrastructure here? You're treating the stream like a open sewer and it's flowing into Lake Taupo. So one of the big things that I'll be bringing to the table is working out how we're going to solve some of these outstanding issues. I put this challenge out saying, we talk about we don't like three waters, but how is our council going to do better? Second thing is, we talked quite a bit in the Taupo one about there's all these problems with Ukraine, power prices, this, that, everything else. The economy is going to go through some rough times soon. So how council does its work around the table in terms of implementing all this infrastructure and everything else. It sounds boring and everything else, but it all matters. It's easy to say, we can save a little dollar here and there, but if you have projects blowing out by millions of dollars and taking a lot longer than they need to, that's going to be a problem. Last one is, I have my sister in my ear every day about how there's no car parks anymore in Taupo and there's streets and this, that and everything else. So there might be a little bit of work to do. It might be just communication and other things, but we also might have to look at is everything working out for us as well. So just good sound governance around the table, working as a team, and using your cool accounting skills to help around the table. Kia ora.
When I came back to Taupo 4 years ago, I'm an architect but semi-retired. I found difficulty trying to develop Maori-owned land in Taupo. It's the same across the entire district. So my platform is whenua mō te whānau, okay? There is a package that I am bringing, it's in the back pocket, they'll get to see it in a couple of weeks' time, that'll help us Maori to develop our own land. There's a lot of issues to trying to get land developed under the present scheme that Taupo district has, because that's where they are, that's what they've had. But other districts have found a way through it, working with TPK, working with Maori Land Affairs, and working with us. Okay, so that's what I'm bringing. My specialty as an architect is to try and build jobs under budget and at the right price and the right schedule. I've worked on projects in Auckland that always came under price. I've worked on projects overseas that have done the same. I spent 15 years overseas working on earthquake rehabilitation projects, rebuilding towns after earthquakes and tsunamis. That's my job. So I'm bringing those skills back to work here in Taupo for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We want to make this very much an interactive meeting, so we're not going to, I'm not going to be here just carrying on asking questions. I'll have one more question to all the councillor candidates, and I'll give the order in which they'll answer it, and then I'm going to offer it to the floor because I'm quite sure there are specific questions that you would like to ask the candidates here. We have just passed the first hour. Now I know we would like to have time to have a cup of tea and a one-on-one chat with them, so let's see if we can keep this thing moving forward. So the question, which is to all the councillor candidates, and it's going to be answered on the basis of Paula first, Sandra second, who's second? Dave is third. Not you, Mr. Mayor. You're sitting still, mate. Danny is fourth. Clint is 5. George is 6, and Karen bringing up the rear. So the question is this: what will you do differently that hasn't been done previously that will have a big impact on improving our town for the better? Big question. I didn't write it. Big question. Paula.
Gosh. So can you just...
Do you want to come back? Do you want to come back later on in the round?
Yeah, I just wondered whether you could just repeat the question.
Okay, sure can. What will you do differently that hasn't been done previously that will have a big impact on improving our town for the better?
I would. I did mention it in my profile. It would be related to the not the acclimatisation. So I was thinking perhaps getting rid of. I know that we're a forestry area, so having heat pumps put into every home and in Turangi. Hopefully that could improve the environment a little bit more. That's what I would do.
As your energy trustee, you would be disappointed if I didn't talk about power. I can't do anything about the power prices. The power prices, it's a privatised industry, and this is the way that it functions as it is. So what I suggest is that we work with what we've got. The one thing that we are missing in this town is a proper transport system. We have no transport to take our people to Taupo, which is where all the absolutely wonderful jobs are that everybody's talking about. There's not only contact up there, there are heaps of other jobs up there. People up there are actually coming to live down here too. I think you probably know that because they can't get homes up there. So I am looking for this council to put in place an EV transport system. I went to the New Zealand Energy Awards a couple of months ago now. I sat next to Tony Moore, who's the Sustainability Manager for Christchurch City Council. Every single one of their buses is EV. They've got a Sustainability Manager. That's his job. That's what we need, and we are a suburb of Taupo, not Outer Mongolia.
Trying to fix things that are broken, first off, I find people aren't broken, it's systems and processes that are broken. Quite often that is where the fault has occurred in projects I've been involved in. So she mentioned one thing, which is transportation. That's one of my pet, I love it. We can't do that if we only have one road. That's one problem. We have to find alternative methods to get from here to Taupo, okay? That's possible. As far as processes, we have a great relationship going here between TDC and our locals, and the local people to manage their own land. That is a success that has come after many, many years, and it's something that we can keep on going with. And as one of the two trustees, one of the two councillors who'll be the Maori Ward councillors, will be working with you full time, and you'll get my full support in everything that has to happen. But if there are other processes we find that need updating, that's what we'll update. Because people know how to do it, but the system doesn't always work. Thank you.
Hey, kia ora no. What am I going to do differently? Probably a little bit more of the same in that we're doing a lot more with our tūwharetoa iwi, our economic authorities, entities. So the good example is I'm on a board that's building the new building for Taupo District Council and tūwharetoa. It's a good example of the only one that we're aware of where we've got our council and our iwi working together in a building together, and we just need to keep on building on that. We need to get our tūwharetoa entities to put more capital and their people and everything else into our district to grow. So we're seeing a bit of it now. We're finding that our entities have a little bit more capital to invest, and we're seeing ourselves, whether it's bonds for gondolas or building these new buildings. There's a whole lot of really, really good works that are happening around the area. So I want to do a little bit more of that if I was at the table, if that makes sense. Got it.
That's quite a leading question to ask. What are you going to do? Because the ability for a councillor to do things is dependent upon everybody around the table. So what I would say is that one thing I would do that has never been done before is sit around the table side by side with Turangi Tukua and make decisions about the town. That would be something that I could take to the table. Other than that, I have lots of aspirations that I would take to the table, but that's the one thing I would do that has not been done before. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Something that hasn't been done before is communicate with our community in a proper manner. What does that look like? That looks like me being available for you. When have you had the opportunity of sitting down with your councillors, or have you had to hunt them down? What I'm saying to you is this: I'm making myself available to you. You are my boss. You elect me. You put me in this role. I'm standing here this evening telling you that I am here to make things better for you by opening up the communication and hearing you, bringing your problems, your issues, your concerns and aspirations to the table. It shouldn't be going through 20 hands to get to a point where you get something done. So what I'm bringing to you is a change, and that change looks like this: cultural change. Starts from the top and it bleeds into the wider organisation. Again, you are a leader, you're elected to advocate. That's what I'm bringing to the table. I want to expand on the communication that currently is lacking. From that communication, great things come. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
And Pani Kara.
Ka pai, kia ora tātou. I'm very consistent in my messaging based around creating intergenerational change, and I'm very consistent in my messaging around the importance of us future-proofing our district. In order to future-proof our district, we need to first understand what our district is going to look like in the next 10 years. Have we ever sat down with our rangatahi to actually talk with them? What are the challenges that they're facing right now? What is it likely, the issues that they're going to be facing in the next 10 years' time? What are some of the technological advances that are going to take place over the next 10 years? It's almost impossible for us to make plans and future-proof our district without first talking to the ones we're trying to future-proof the district for. I was incredibly lucky that I got to sit just all of an hour ago with some incredibly talented rangatahi where they were able to share with me over the span of an hour, or share with us as trustees over the span of the hour, the aspirations for our community. And isn't that what it's about? I mean, isn't that what we're here for? Isn't that what we're trying to do, is trying to create a better community for our tamariki and for our mokopuna? If not, what are we doing? I look at my kids. My kids are incredible, and they are an integral part of this community. So the question for me, if elected as a councillor, will be based around what am I doing to future-proof the district for them? What is that going to look like? So I think thinking ahead of the curve and understanding what the future of technology is going to look like will have a heavy impact on creating something new for our district. So, like I said, I'm a broken record sometimes, but kora oku whakao. Kia ora tata.
I'd like to thank all the candidates for answering the question and presenting. Now it's now open to people from the floor. The idea being, if you would like to make a question to either a specific candidate or to the candidates in general, please come forward, introduce yourself, and then ask your question. So please go to the microphone. No, not that one.
I've got my voting papers today. I'm Warwick Wilson.
Just stand in front of it, because this is the other side. Face this way.
It's okay. I'm not actually asking the candidates a question. I compliment on coming. I want to know, where are the Waikato Regional Council candidates, because I don't know them. I got my voting papers today and I wouldn't have a clue anything about them. No one?
I can answer that question. The invitation went out to the two candidates representing the Taupo-Kaingaroa region. I got one response from a lady by the name of Simone Stevenson, who apologised she couldn't be there, but I never heard from the other one. So you can lead a horse to water. That's it. I agree with you. They have a very important part to play in these local elections, and we have to vote for them. But they, for whatever reason, decided not to turn up. I'm as disappointed as you are. Any other questions?
I moved to the region fairly recently. I've only been here for about 4 years. When I lived in the Lower Hutt City region, my rates went up because of work being done by a council upriver. They were giving permits to a building developer that were allowing him to denude the forest from the hills, and all the silt came down, hit the river, and we had 2 50-year floods in a 3-year period. Now, what concerns me is the water going out of our lake and going to the Waikato area, who are then selling that water to Auckland. Are we getting anything from that in compensation? Because since I've been here, every year the lake levels are getting lower and lower, and I'm really concerned about it.
Happy to give it a go. It is a regional council thing, and obviously you've got the issues around the Maori, foreshore and all that sort of kuratau, all that sort of thing. So they get consented to every 5 years. Their consent's up again very, very shortly, and they swear and declare and all that sort of thing that they're not raising this and taking it down, but you can see the evidence around the lake. So totally agree with you. The question is, do we advocate? We do. And we employ all these scientists in to to try and come up with an answer and, you know, question them, and but they just seem to, the consent just seems to slip through every year. So, yeah, the two, you know, 50-year floods, I understand that. You know, we spent all that project Watershed. Do you remember? Eric probably remember. You know, we spent millions of dollars stop banking the Tongariro River. So that's why, you know, that's why that area is safe at the moment. But having said that, we've got our eyes on those power companies. They make a lot of money, as Sandra says. And raising that lake level, it's certainly not just a natural phenomenon that's happening around Maori Kuratau. We've got to replenish that beach every year. It's pain in the proverbial. Probably, sorry, not a technical answer for you, but happy to go away and see what the latest consent when that application's come in, because we'd love to hear from you when it comes in. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Cool.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
I'll just make a quick comment. So, yeah, certainly the Waikato River Authority opposed Watercare taking water from the river. They went through the normal process. It was actually quite close in terms of not everybody on the panel supported it. Obviously, as Taupo residents who want to use water as well, people taken away in Auckland isn't helpful. They argue that they take it away, clean it, put it back in again. But again, when you've got all these other issues with the Waikato River, its health, the water quality, the impact of the dams and everything else, it's for us it's like an accumulative thing. So people get confused about this thing called manawa te wai. All it is about respecting the water. And that's, again, one of the things I stand for. The short answer is they are going to be required to put $1 or $2 million a year into projects to look after the river. There was an appeal on that. That appeal fell away. So the organisation I'm involved with that does a whole lot of projects to improve water quality, whether it's planting, this, that and everything else with the river, we'll be getting some extra funding to do that. But that's about as good as you can do. You know, we live in a country where Auckland is the main centre. That's where a lot of the economic drive is happening. They've got all these people coming in, they need water. So very, very hard for a government to turn them down. So I don't know if that helps you, but yeah, get it.
That's only half the story. That lake is our energy, and that lake provides huge energy for particularly the North Island. We have underground power stations, we have Tukanu power station, and then all the way down the Waikato River we have all of those power stations. So it's not just about the water, it's about turning on your lights too. It's a big story. It's a big story.
I do believe that this country needs to look at alternative methods of generation as well, because we cannot keep raping rivers. And that's what we're doing at the moment.
80% of the energy in this country comes from renewables already. You just heard the story about...
Sorry, but you're calling it renewables. You're damming rivers for renewable energy.
There are no consents currently available for damming any more rivers in this country. There's one being put through in the South Island at present. It was turned down by the government. The government is actually looking at it again, but they are not considering it strongly. Onslow is the new area that we're talking about, and you have to go and Google that because I haven't got time to explain it, but they're not damming rivers anymore. Those days are gone. They're not doing that anymore.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jo Bransgrove. I'm the chair of Amplify. So I thought, as it's Amplify is hosting tonight, one question which I was hoping people might answer is, what can we do to promote business in the Southern Lake Taupo? Now, there's some people say, well, why would we want to do that? So if people's got that question, that would be interesting for me too. But for me, if we can bring more businesses here, if we can support the businesses we have, we can provide jobs for our young people, we can provide opportunities, and we can help people. So particularly to the people standing to represent Turangi, and I just want to say, as chair, we've found it difficult to help the businesses in this area because we've come up against walls. We did take, as you know, to the Turangi-Tongariro Community Board, the Tesla stations. 3 times it went there. That was frustrating to me to get people to stop here, to have their cars recharged and to support the local eateries and people. It was a no-brainer, and I did find that frustrating. I've got to say, and you probably don't want me saying this, a number of years ago we had a big proposal on the other side of State Highway 1, again, kicked back. That would have provided a huge amount of opportunities here for the young people. So I'm particularly, so the mayoral candidates, I know you'll all say you want to support, but I'm particularly keen to hear from Turangi candidates. Can you help me do my job? If you can, I'll vote for you. But we need help. Yeah.
Who would like to go first? Sam.
Doing business in Turangi has always been difficult. One of the reasons for that is because of the situation with the land here. We hope that this is going to change with the mana whakahono. People sitting around the table has got to be the first place to start. There's no argument about that. I do not understand why anybody in this district would vote against putting Tesla charging stations in. When I was at the Electricity Trust of New Zealand conference a few months ago, ChargeNet, who does all the charging right across New Zealand, said, we are looking for hubs across the country. And I thought, Turangi, where else would we have a hub for charging electric cars? They want a hub where they have half a dozen charging points, where people can get out, they can walk around, they can spend time here, where the children can actually play on a playground. We're getting our new playground. And where mum and dad can have a cup of coffee. So that's a first point where we need to start looking forward and seeing whether, like Karen says, this is a technology age. We're not going to be putting petrol in our cars anymore. Those days are moving away very, very quickly. Some of the companies are not going to be making petrol cars up to 2026. So I don't understand, Joe, why that's happened here. Certainly as a councillor for this area, won't happen under my watch. What can I do to help business? The short answer is I don't know. I think working with Amplify is probably the first port of call.
Number one, I think funding needs to be sustained for Amplify. That's to keep you guys rolling. But I don't have any issues with relationships with business owners locally. So I don't know what the difference is between the approach that you guys are having or the pushback that you're having and that I'm not experiencing. So what I do have aspiration for is this. Why are we not having big, scary conversations that, make us crap our pants so that we actually sit there and think about what potential there is out there? Why do we not have toll sitting here in the centre of the North Island? Why are we not a logistics hub? Has council had a conversation with the landowners and requested a possible private-public partnership? Are those conversations that are happening? Are we inviting business in to support business that's already allocated here or established here? These are the things that I'm seeing are not happening, and I'm not saying that that is the job of Amplify. What I am saying is this: we need to think big. We need to grow local, and we need to grow global. What does that look like? It means making sure that our youth, and you talk about future-proofing, it means making sure that what we have here currently is built better. We grow them better. They don't want to leave the region. They want to contribute back to the region. And how do we do that? We make this place look sexy. Not for us at the other end of life, but for the legacy that sits behind us. So we need to think about big projects, scary projects. Invite people like Sleepyhead. Ask Toll to come here. We need to have conversations like that. Until we're having those conversations, we won't know what big or bright or aspirational looks like. We could grow business big here. We're just not taking the opportunity to step outside our comfort zone. That's my personal perspective. Kia ora.
It's a good question, and we do need to be attracting business. How we do that, I don't have the answer. I know that I run a business here. It's a distribution hub. I import things from overseas. I store them here, but it's very hard to actually find good warehousing and things like that. So maybe infrastructure is something we need to be promoting. Maybe entrepreneurship, taking our rangatahi and teaching them the skills of entrepreneurship so that they can start up businesses and work in businesses. it's certainly something we have to be looking at. It's a prime location. But we do need infrastructure, we do need space, and we need to have business people that want to come here and set up businesses here. Of course, we do already have businesses. We have tourism businesses, and they're very successful, but we need other kinds of businesses, maybe tech businesses that would align with the sorts of things Karen was talking about. How we do that, Amplify, I don't know, really. It's how you go to a business person out of town and say, well, Turangi's a good spot. I don't know, it's something we need to do, but I don't have the answers, but it's something I'm very interested in working on. Kia ora.
I think we visited this situation a few years ago. I think it was, yes. And I was actually behind having, developing this new project. But maybe we could revisit something like that again. Yeah. In fact, I had all the paperwork out. I don't know what made me get it out, but I've still got the information. It was to do with the resource consent. Yeah. So maybe we should just revisit that. And yeah, it was to do with the BP service station, and it had a lot of. We had Waka Kotahi involved. What was the name of that? Parklands. Yeah, because it was at the time when the owner there was selling, and of course it was really neat going through the exercise of what was required, and of course we come up against the neighbours in that area. Yeah, so it was. I've still got the information about it, but yes, how about we revisit it, something like that.
It's interesting. And I said it the other night, is that when we rely upon tourism and the tourism's not there, we suffer. So for the last couple of years, what we've seen happen is our total potential tourism go from 8 billion down to 5 million because no one can get in to see us. And we've been pretty fortunate as opposed to other areas, and I'm sure you all have heard tales from other regions whereby they haven't had that local tourism coming along. So how do you grow a town without local tourism? You grow by numbers, by those who want to live there. And certainly it's, some of the things, and you've mentioned them tonight with the transportation hub, fantastic idea, especially you look at our distance between here and Wellington, then from here up to Hamilton, across to Napier, as far as truck turnaround time. What an absolutely brilliant idea, and there's certainly a lot of the space, and I'm not sure about the ownership of the land and what partnerships can be done there, but what a fantastic way to put people into employment, everything from tyres to servicing, right through to drivers. Outside of that, and you mentioned I don't have my head around this, the charging centre, that just seems ridiculous. It's a hydro town. When Dad told me at 15 we were moving up to Turangi, and he said, well, where's that? And it was like the Visa ad at the time, which was somewhere near Taupo, if you remember that old Visa ad. And we came up here, and it's a hydro town. So to get all that power, and especially the thing you've got in places like Taupo is you've got to be able to create waiting stations for 6 people to fuel up their cars, and they'll head into town and spend their money. So where do we do that, and where do we take away permanent car parking, whereas once again we've got undeveloped land here? Now if someone stays, and these, although you can get it charged in 15, 20 minutes, that's according to the brochures, I've got friends with electric cars and they say it's not the case, and they always plan to stop and have a coffee somewhere. And working on that, you're one of the best locations for a massive charging centre, because nobody wants to go across the desert road with a tank half full or a couple of AA batteries short. So those people will have perhaps their first visit here. You can't get repeat visit by definition without a first visit. So if it's a 15-minute stop and a break and it becomes part of their routine, and when they're planning that fishing trip, then perhaps this pops up on their radar because they've now embraced the community. That's all I could say.
Are there any questions from the floor? Yes, you'll need to just grab hold of that. And if you could just say your name.
Joanne Booker, and I live at Moatropa. We've been living here 6 years, and I've, since 7 years old, when I used to go to Harteby for our holidays. But one of the things I think that really needs to be done for the town and to make it more appealing is the mall. You know, that's the downturn for the town. It really does need either bowling over, and I know a lot of the properties are privately owned, but really if it was all could be opened up, it'd make it far more appealing for people to come and visit. And you just have to go and look at Twizel. You know, that was another place that was down and out, and what they've done there. Tirau was another one that was just a town you didn't stop at, and look at that. Although I think there's a few more businesses closed down there. But, you know, we just have to look outside the square.
Anyone like to respond to that?
I'm happy, Joe. Totally agree. Absolutely, totally agree. You know, I'm an old retailer, and probably say something out, put it out there. It needs a road for it, or it needs a street for it, or it needs camper vans. It needs shifted up, and it needs so much. That's what I mentioned earlier in the speech with Graham and Graham Wyman. He's really trying his best to do those feats. You know, try to tidy that up. But you know, it's a it was built and it stayed for a lot more people probably, and it served its purpose, but there is a multitude of owners, and it's a matter of collaborating that together. And I'm looking at the Amplify guys here. We've got a few exciting things, potentially the Bankers Association coming in, and other bits and pieces, and so it, probably about too much work, but it has been talked about for years. I've been around since 2001. And still nothing's happened. Rangi's still, trading away, and got some good people in there, but it just needs, the whole thing's not inviting. So, so it's time for perhaps a refresh and a relook at that. But my controversial thing is chuck a road in it. Which, we did have a proposal of the road going horizontal to the library, but oh crikey, everyone was up in arms. So I think that's what it needs, and there's probably some surplus buildings in there that can go. Yeah, thank you.
I absolutely and totally agree with you, and I came to visit you again 7 years ago, because I used to come regularly to my office, which is on the edge of that mall. But when I came here 7 years ago, I saw Sandra on the street, and I'd never met her before, and we started to talk, and I said, that mall needs a bomb. And then I found out that it wasn't us that owned it, it was a whole lot of private people, so it's difficult to get. But look, what I want you to think of in terms of Turangi, don't just think of tourism. There is all kinds of ways now, which my friend over here has talked about, technology and how to use it. People can come and work here when their jobs are actually a long, long way away, and they can work from here. You have huge potential if we can just bring it to fruition. And it's finding out what you really want, and then it's having utter and absolute determination that that's what we're going to get. I think Turangi should be an alpine town. I think you should develop it like an alpine town. I've been to them in the States. They are stunningly beautiful, and you've got everything that makes an alpine town. Just let's do it.
When I came here first, I came here first when I was about that high, but that's another story. When I first came here to live, Dennis and I came here, it was in 1995, and we bought a house, and the town centre had just had a makeover with the canopy over it and the lovely network through it. That cost $1 million to do, and we had, I think, $32 put on every rate demand for quite a few years. Do you all remember that? Yeah? Do you remember that?
Project Panama.
Yeah, Project Panama, okay. The question I would ask you as a ratepayer, are you prepared to have your rates go up a bit to do something? Yes or no? Yes? Yes? Okay. Right, so I think those are the sorts of conversations that have to be had, because I'm not going to come and bowl your house and tell you that your house looks crap and you've got to get rid of it. Those people own those buildings. They're invested in them. There's some very good businesses over there, we know that. We also know that those 60s models are gone, they're outdated, they don't fit the new look of the 21st century. It's a conversation we've been having in this town for as long as I can remember. We've tried all sorts of different things, but maybe it's time now to take the hard yards and say, we might just have to increase your rates, and our rates are not expensive in this town, and I would like anyone in this room to think their rates are expensive to put their hand up. Lewis, you don't count. I'm sorry, when I see people paying $5,000, $6,000 and $7,000 for small two-bedroom units in Auckland and paying water on top of that, water in, water out, your rates are not expensive. I don't say that they should go up, but there's a conversation that we need to have about what we want for this town, who's going to pay for it, and what it has to look like. I know those things are controversial, but we'll have those conversations now, before the election, not after.
Some background. So I told you I was raised by my great-grandmother. She lived in Auckland. I was raised in Ponsonby to start, and then I moved around Auckland. By the time I was 13, I was out of Auckland, going to a school in the Waikato. I raised my family in the Waikato, and eventually got to work overseas. But one thing that I have noticed is that up in Auckland, there are still some old shopping centres like this that are still existing, but they've been updated. Overseas, we do other things. Well, in other jobs, we do other things. I may come back and deal with this on another day, should things happen progressively. But there is one solution, and that is, I'm trying to think of the word for it. Equity. Those shop owners have equity in those buildings, right? Are there any shop owners here tonight? Okay. How much is yours worth? Give me figures. 600, 700, 800,000? What would you do if I gave you a shop that value, a brand new one, in a new block? Would you take it? Exactly. In Singapore, they have been rebuilding buildings every 20 years. They pull an old one down, but they give the owners an option of getting into a new one. They pay them, okay? But in other places, we can actually do it without transaction. You've already put money in, we'll take the money back out, and we'll get it from somewhere else, but we're giving you a shop. We can develop a whole new shopping centre that way, without you losing face, okay? So that's an option. We, as an architect, this is what I propose we do with the place. Another canopy is not going to work. No. Thank you.
My fellow candidates keep referring to things I say, so I must be saying something right, eh, Genghis? It's an interesting paradigm because it's almost like we have to reshape the way we think. And that's incredibly difficult for people. Change is always hard. But we do have to shift the paradigm around what we think makes a successful business. We don't need to be in shops or stores or within our town centres now. We can run businesses from the comfort of our own home. We can connect to the world without leaving our house. Do you know how many people I know within my generation that run incredibly successful businesses from the comforts of their own home? Through the internet, through incredible social media campaigns that they've developed to help promote their business, to allow them to live the lifestyle that they would like to live, which is obviously living in a beautiful, small, close-knit community who look after each other, who want the best for one another. And on top of that, being able to contribute to the community through money that's actually imported from other countries and from other parts of Aotearoa. That's the world in which we're moving into, and it's moving at such an incredibly rapid pace, it's almost impossible for us to see unless we're keen to actually, school was such a cornerstone of my upbringing, and I'm sure of your upbringing. School is no longer a cornerstone of our kids' upbringing. Can I ask you a question? How is it that you go about learning anything today? I ask any rangatahi that question, they come up with one word: YouTube. They don't talk about university, they don't talk about school, they talk about one word: YouTube. They can learn everything they want from the comforts of their own home. this is the future, and it's really hard for us to contextualise, which potentially is why businesses like or organisations like Amplify are finding it difficult to engage with local businesses. But this is the world in which we're shifting into, and we need to be mindful of that. And then how do we future-proof that to ensure that we're not providing, and I always say this, we're not giving our kids everything they need on a silver platter. No, I'm all about building resilience for sure, but we're providing them with more opportunities than we could ever fathom. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting close to finish, so could I take one more question? We've got two more questions. Jen and Mara.
I'm Jen Sheaf. I've really found this extremely interesting. Joe, could I just ask that you spend some time talking to people like Danny and others in the room to work out what Turangi's all about? Sandra, I'm sorry, we're not a suburb of Taupo, I do know that. We have our own special character, and that's why we didn't get the BP station, thank goodness. It's just, we've got to work out what it is that's going to make us grow and thrive and give us something that we can all believe in. I love your Alpine Town idea, but we need to put that in a pot and we need to sit and talk and have a shared vision of what this place is all about. I've been here long enough to have seen the Lake Taupo Development Company tell us that we need to have a gateway project. We were going to have signage at both ends of the town like they do in Rotorua, and we were going to be the gateway to the national park. Didn't work. I chaired for the council a steering group that was supposed to revitalise the town, 2 years' work in 2012, 2013, that came to absolutely nothing. Blockages that you've talked about. We've tried, we've put papers together, we've done, lots of people in the room have taken part in goodness knows what committees, proposals, ideas. We do have ideas, we do want to see the place go ahead. We don't want a trout farm. That was one of your predecessors' ideas. Danny, I think, would you mind just spending a minute at the end, just sort of as maybe the last speaker, I don't know, just to say what your vision of the town is, because I really do think you've got some ideas, and I'd love to hear them.
Thank you. Thanks. And one more question from Mara at the back.
I can answer after. We'll catch up after a cup of tea.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Marama Isherwood. I just wanted to plant a seed, actually. There's been a lot of kōrero around our rangatahi here in Turangi. I think they need to be sitting also up there. I think we need a Turangi Youth Council. I think we need to have 2 youth sitting around the table every month, because they're the ones that actually can teach us where we're heading. They have a far better idea and understanding than most of us in this room, quite possibly. There's a lot of stuff going on in the town with rangatahi, and I think, as Karen touched on, because he was at that hui, I think it's key for the town to, I guess, that's the answer for a lot of the issues that are going on. So it's about including them and involving them. I also just want to plant the seed with the councillors that it's not just Turangi Township that you're representing. I live in a place over Rotoaira. I don't even know if some people know we exist. A lot of those people, I know, because they're not here, they don't come out. So maybe what you could be doing, being a little bit more proactive if you get into these positions, is to say, you know what, let's go to them. Let's go to them and say, what can we do for you? Because currently it's not a lot. And if you come over the hill, we have some of the most amazing tourist attractions. We've got Opotaka, where the haka comes from. We've got Lake Rotoaira, the fishing. So many people come there. We have Te Porere, you know, just some of the things. It's just an acknowledgement of the bigger community. But I wish you all the best of luck. Ngā mihi nui.
Well, with that very insightful finish from you, Ma, thank you very much. And I would like to thank you all for attending. It's been very informative. And specifically to the 10 candidates, I thank you very much for turning up. And I wish you all the very best of luck on the 8th of October. And I think you'd all join me in wishing them all the best. Now, if you don't want to run away, there is food and a cup of tea available. Thank you.